We'll be starting in just a couple of minutes, folks. Just loading stuff up, getting the peoples. Be there in a couple seconds. Go grab yourself a beer, a coffee, a tequila, and your transgendered lover, whomever you prefer. And we'll see you in a couple minutes. All right, folks, it's time for another SEO Science Show. My name is Josh Bachynski, and I will be your host for today. The SEO Science Show is the show that looks at SEO scientifically. We try and share some of our scientific research, and we try and share... we try to make the Zoom window the proper size. We try and get the show right eventually. Fit to screen, kind of fit to screen, not really. Here, let me fix that. There we go. Josh tries to learn OBS as he goes. Okay. That's not quite doing it right. Hold on. I know what to do. I'll make that full screen. There. And now this should be full screen-ish. There we go, kind of. So welcome to the SEO Science Show. Sorry about the fooling around here. It's because I used to use Google Hangouts, and they've turned that off for some reason. So I don't know what to do now. Sadly, I can see myself on YouTube moving things around. So I used to use Google Hangouts, and that worked much better. But sadly, they don't have it going anymore. So I have to use Zoom. If people want to join in, I could just use OBS natively, but the Zoom window never seems to be quite right. But anyway, today is not going to be about OBS. Today is going to be about SEO science. I have a couple things prepared for you to show you guys, talk to you guys about. As I said, if you've never seen the SEO Science Show before, we are the show that uses a scientific method to try and scientifically peer into the black box of Google, create scientific principles and scientific laws based on what we see there, which is the purpose of science, is to come up with a grand unified theory, some kind of law. And we've come up with the grand unified theory, the gut of SEO. We know what it is. I can break it down for you, and everything I'm talking about here is from a scientific perspective, backed up by scientific knowledge. Ted says, my shirt is on backwards. Yes, it's because Hangouts used to reverse it. Is there a way to reverse this? And I bet there's a way to reverse this in OBS. I could try figuring that out. If anyone else knows OBS. Rotate 180, flip horizontal. Boom. Ha-ha. Now you can read the Big Trouble Little China. There we go. Okay. So like I said, every week will not be me playing with OBS. I will eventually get this OBS thing done, this show thing done. I spend more time on the science, so I have more science to talk about. So that's what's going on there. So I hope you guys are doing well. If you should be able to see the chat in the top right-hand side, which I believe is up here. If I point to it, the top right-hand side should be up here. and then you'll be able to see that. You can ask any SEO questions that you want. I'll try to answer them from a scientific perspective, share as much science I can with you. My mentorship group, I have kind of like an SEO university, and my mentorship group is all based on science, and so that's where you would go to get kind of the most of the scientific knowledge, but I'm going to try and leak as much as I can. As Fraud says, go science, go. Yes, definitely. So on the top right-hand side, you can ask SEO questions. I'll try to answer them. You can also give me your URL. I can do a 10,000-foot view on your URL and give you some tips and suggestions as to what maybe you should do. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about on the show. What's new is the first thing we're going to talk about. That's our ongoing segment on the show. What's new? The answer is not much. If you have been following Google, you might think, well, there's a lot of stuff that's new, Josh. It seems to be big trouble in little China, so to speak. Big trouble in SEO. Jules asks, can I ask a question now? Yes, you can ask a question now. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Go ahead, put in your SEO questions. Put in your URLs if you want me to answer anything. The faster, the better. The sooner, the better. That kind of a deal. Anyway, so people think there's a lot of stuff going on in SEO. If you've been watching it, a lot of stuff going on with Google. But if you take a look at Google from a scientific perspective, actually the changes are very incremental and very tiny. They're just variations on a theme. Google has a major theme of ranking about what they do. And it's that theme of ranking that you need to kind of understand, and you need to peer back the curtain and test it with a scientific perspective. Once you've done that, then the clouds part, the sun comes in, the rain parts, and now everything makes sense, and everything that Google's doing makes sense. But you just have to peer through the veil of what Google is doing, and you have to peer through the veil of understanding kind of how Google works. So, and I really do recommend you do that from a scientific perspective, or get with a group that does it from a scientific perspective. And I have to say, sadly, everybody else is wrong. like mostly because I haven't taken a scientific perspective. Everybody else is off in the reads. Everybody else thinks it's PBN links, or they think it's silos, or they think it's entities, or they think it's stuff like that. Those are all non-scientific designations. Those are all non-scientific theories. That's not the grand unified theory of SEO. It's not going to help you understand SEO principles. It's not going to help you understand SEO from a scientific perspective. They may claim that any of those things are proven scientifically. I would disagree. I've tested them all scientifically, and none of them fit into the framework of SEO optimization. Yes, you might be able to rank with some, in spite of some PBN links. Yes, you might be able to rank in spite of having a silo, but that's not necessarily helping you rank. And so if you don't have the proper scientific framework, if you don't have the proper scientific paradigm and testing paradigm to really tell what the grand unified theory of SEO is, naturally then you're going to be off in the reads. Your guesses are going to be off. Things are going to be not quite correct, and more errors will ensue. And sadly, your revenue is going to be at risk. Your client sites are going to be at risk. Ask yourself, what would you do if SEO wasn't working for you? What would you do if you lost your rankings? You cannot trust all of that money and all of that heartache and all of that time on anything but a strong scientific foundation. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof. We now have 307 examples. We just recently had another major discovery, and the students are going crazy. So go look at the first, the latest images in there if you want to see the results of those. And those are all unsolicited. Those are mostly from my students and from myself and from my clients. They're all benefiting from our scientific framework that has made massive discoveries secret discoveries into what Google is doing. We have to be very quiet and not say too much, or Google might change something. And so by all means, go to bit.ly/SEO proof. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody's words. Ask them for the proof. Ask them for some evidence. And I have some evidence for you. I have 307 pieces of evidence for you, which quite frankly is 307 more pieces of evidence that most everybody else are willing to give you. They'll just give you words. I say to forget my words. Go to bit.ly/SEO proof, bit.ly/SEOPROOF, and look at the evidence and judge for yourself. If you think that those are photoshopped, go ahead and check them in a Photoshop tool. Go ahead and check to see. I dare you. Go take those images in bit.ly SEO proof, put them in, I can't remember the URL, but you can find whether or not images have been photoshopped or not. Google that. How to tell if an image is photoshopped. You'll find tools out there, free tools online. I challenge you, put my evidence into there and see if I've changed the graph. See if I've changed the number from 6 to 1. See if I've done any manipulation like that, or if you can find it like that. Yes, I've cropped them. Yes, I've blocked out people's names and moved things up and made them more consolidated. But you'll never find, or should never find, at least from me, a couple of them are from students, and I hope they didn't fake it, but from me, which is most of them on there, you'll never find a move from page 6 to 1. You'll never see it from like 1 changed from a 2, or you're never going to see the line graph as like I deleted it and drew it in manually. That will never happen. You'll never find it. I challenge you to go look for it. It's your revenue at stake, and you know it makes perfect sense for you to want to make sure that the gurus you're listening to have the proper experience and the level of experience that you want and the level of trustworthiness that you need. And I challenge you to go check out, because some you're going to find do, and some one you're going to find does, and the rest you're going to find pretty much don't. They're busy making their tools, so they're busy ranking client sites. They're busy trying to rent Lamborghinis to make videos to pretend like they own a Lamborghini, or whatever, that kind of a thing. So there's a lot of get-rich-quick scams out there. This is not a get-rich-quick scam. You're not going to get rich quick. It takes work. This is university. Expect to be here for months, if not a year, depending on how smart you are and how experienced you already are. And it's going to cost way less than university. Congratulations. But we do know the scientific SEO principles. I can teach them to you. You will see results. You will see gains. And you will have the best understanding of SEO out of any group on the planet in my mentorship group. Okay, so with that in mind, the segue was, what's new in SEO? When you understand from the scientific perspective, again, as I said, there's not much really that's new in SEO. And I'll explain that scientific framework and that perspective and what it gives you and what we've discovered. I'll share with you what we've discovered at a high level. I'll share that with you in a second. Okay, random stuff. People have been talking about Googlebot lately, so I want to share with you, and I'll just share the screen here. I want to share with you, you should be able to see the screen here, what Googlebot looks like these days. You might be wondering, what does Googlebot look like? Well, it looks like this, exactly. This is what it looks like. If you check your server logs, you'll see a visit that looks exactly like this. And it's Mozilla 5.0, and it seems to be coming from Linux, Android, Nexus, 5x build. Now that is the mobile browser, right? And it says mobile here as well. A Nexus is a mobile browser, and Android is a Nexus is a mobile device, and Android is a mobile device. Nexus is a mobile device, and Android is a mobile operating system. So this is the mobile version of the browser, and it is the one that they by default send out these days. For some reason, they send it twice. I don't know why they send it twice. It used to be one was mobile and one was desktop. But if both of them say this, and they both do, and they're both mobile, I don't know why it sends them twice to each page. Interestingly, in our scientific testing, we've noticed the first file in a directory, a first file in a pattern, or the first file in a directory that you send Googlebot to, they visit 4 or 5 times for some reason. It's very interesting. I don't know if they're checking it a bunch of times to make sure that that's actually the way it works, or if I'm not really sure, to tell you the truth, if that they're checking to see if that's the way it works, or if that is the files is real, or if the server works is what I mean, something like that. I'm not really sure why, but they seem to. And then they only visit twice after that, all the pages that you try to get fetched. So check in your check in your server logs for this user agent. It will probably come from a similar IP address every time. It'll probably say Googlebot in it. Ted says, I'm frozen. Audio only. You guys don't see this? Oh, look at that. Whoa. Okay, OBS apparently froze. How about I turn off Zoom capture? There we go. How about I turn that off? I bet you I can't turn this on. No. Sorry, let me try Zoom capture again. Nope. Zoom seems to have hung. That's weird. And now that it owns the camera, I can't switch that over. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. Okay. I'll stop the share. Now I presume my ugly mug is back. Yes, my ugly mug is back. So it didn't seem to like the screen share. Interesting. Okay, I'll do that. How about then I will do that this way. Sorry for the technical difficulties, folks. Here we go. Now I'm doing display capture. Now you got the zoom. Okay, so here we go. So anyway, that's what the this is what the Googlebot looks like. Maybe I'll stop using Zoom on this thing. Maybe I'll just use OBS. I'm not really sure. If other people want to join and talk, then and hang out, but there's not really anyone else doing anything interesting in Google Science right now. Just the same old kind of pushing of their own tools. So I don't know who I could have on the show that's worth having. But so maybe I don't need to use Zoom. But anyway, so this is the stuff I was talking about here. I apologize about that. That's the new Googlebot. Check your server logs. You'll be able to find it. And, you know, if you're wondering, am I really getting crawled? Are they really visiting? The only way to tell is to check your server logs to see if this guy has come along and fetched it. If they've fetched it, then they're going to process it, and they've reprocessed it. Just because they've reprocessed it doesn't mean your rankings are going to change. It depends if you've made stuff that's going to have a positive impact or positive change. So, and you have to know how to view your server logs to begin with. A lot of people don't know how to view their server logs. So, you know, that's kind of an issue there as well. But okay, let's get to the questions. Let's see what kind of questions you guys might have here in the YouTubes. In the YouTubes. Kirill says, good day from Midnight Russia. Good day, Kirill. If I know how to say hello in Russia, I would. In Russian, I would. Ted says, my shirt's on backwards. I fixed that now. It should now be fixed, maybe? Or is it not fixed? I'm not sure. Oh, someone here has joined the Zoom. Hello. Who joined? Who wants to talk? If you have questions, go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, welcome aboard. Now, probably the screen is backwards again. So let me go into OBS here. But it's proper for that. Anyway. Yeah, I'll fix out these. Don't worry, I'll fix all the technical difficulties here, folks. Okay, Travel and Business asks, how do I get in a featured snippet? That's a great question. There's a lot of ways to get into a featured snippet. We have one secret way that we know of how to get a featured snippet. The general answer is that the way to get into a featured snippet is to name the section of that page properly. If you have special elements or objects in the document object model that are naming that properly, and for the search query in question, then, and it has it in a format, a data format, strictly, XML style format, including all the XML variants, of which I'm sure you're aware. If you have that, then Google is able to read your content and recognize it connects to a search query. And that's generally how it's done. And you could do it any way that satisfies those conditions. We have specific ways in the group that we use, but that's the basic way to do it. Let me put this here as well. Jules Kid asks, I've tested sending PBN links to a local site in month 1 and it went well. Great. Thought we shouldn't send high PBN links early on. You can do that. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't mean you did it optimally. So you lucked out. You gambled. You went to Vegas and you lucked out. Good for you. That's fantastic. But that doesn't mean that's the way you're supposed to do it, or it went well, or that's the way you'd want to do it. It's like everybody in the industry is into search engine gambling, and some level of gambling. We don't gamble. We test. We use a scientific method to do scientific tests to create a scientific framework. That's the important thing. So You need that scientific framework. You need that scientific principled understanding, that scientific principled understanding of what's going on. That's the philosophy that this show puts out. That's the vibe that we're talking about. That's the perspective that I'm coming from. Scientific tests that are not willy-nilly testing, is this a ranking factor? Is this a ranking factor? Is this a ranking factor? That's the wrong way to do it. A scientific framework has all those tests that cohesively function together to essentially tell you what scientific principles the ranking factors have, so we can generate scientific laws to have higher predictive power. And then, most importantly, structures and tailors our scientific approach along those lines. Correlation studies doesn't do that. Using correlation in place of science doesn't do that. Correlation is not science. Correlation is math that you sometimes use in place of science or use to help science. Correlation is not science. Data is not science. Data does nothing alone until it's interpreted, and data does nothing alone. An interpretation does nothing alone until it's interpreted in a scientific framework that has an empirical back, right? Think about that. Data is nothing alone. It needs to be interpreted. And the interpretation itself, one-off from the hip interpretation, means nothing unless it's interpreted in a scientific framework of backed up by an entire structure of empirical tests to include and exclude, most importantly, to do exclusionary scientific testing to know that you had conditions A, B, C at the start and D, effect D happened. Well, which one caused it? Was it A, was it B, or was it C? You need to remove A, you need to remove B, you need to remove C, you need to remove A. You need to do all those combinations to see when D shows up and then when it doesn't show up. And when you start realizing, oh, we can do A and B, but D never shows up. But when we do C, then D shows up. Now you know it's C or something about C, and then you need to break C into all its Higgs boson particles and analyze every single thing, the 100 things that are going on for condition C. And then you need to see which out of those actually causes D and how well it causes D. Does it make D go up? Does it make D go down? What does it do to affect D? And you need to go through this entire philosophy of science and this entire kind of principled approach, or you don't have a scientific framework, and quite frankly, you may have done empirical tests, but your empirical tests are no better than random mythbusters myth-busting. It doesn't provide a framework for you to cure cancer, for example, or to tell whether there's life on other planets, or to rank sites in SEO. Just one-off kind of, this helped in this test, doesn't mean you have. If you are not testing in a scientific framework, you have absolutely no assurance whatsoever that random empirical tests will help you rank. Just because their testing page is this boosted, if they do not have a sufficient scientific framework, there's no way they can predict that it's really in any way going to help you in your particular scenario, because they have no way of knowing. The only way they know that the correlation between your scenario and their testing framework is sufficiently coherent, is sufficiently the same, is in the fidelity of their scientific testing framework. And so if you don't have high fidelity, high experience, lots of tests done for this reason in this particular way in your scientific framework, then you can't make, then the ability for you to make predictions that other people should trust and rely on is greatly, greatly, greatly reduced. So that's our philosophy. That's what we're doing. That's why it's called the SEO Science Show. And we share as much of this great science with you as we definitely can. So you can get away with a lot of stuff. Doesn't mean it's optimal. Doesn't mean that's what you should have done. Jules asked, do I have a course? Yes, we have a course. You can get involved. Go to secretseo.guru, or you can email me at joshbachynski@gmail.com. And I would be happy to explain to interview you, put you through the interview process. Our students go through an interview process. I don't accept every student. It's a high-level course, so you need to have some prerequisites, some level of professionalism, in all senses of the word, some level of professionalism. And so you can go through our admissions process, and I'm happy to see if you can make it. But I have more than enough students. The program is full. So I'm being pretty choosy when it comes to new students I'm letting in. So again, I don't want you to feel like I'm keeping anything away from anyone, but there is an admissions process. Think of this like a university. I come from a university background. I used to do university admissions. I've written curriculum. I used to run university programs and teach universities. So think of this as a university, a science university, base university. And you can go through the admissions process, and I could see if you are eligible for the program, if it's a good fit for you for the program. And that's how I guarantee all my results, and that's how I know that Bitly SEO Proof is the best examples, because I choose amongst the greatest potential in students who I think are going to be able to absorb the material and get the results. At least I try to. Anybody could join. I'm not discriminatory in any way, except that there's some prerequisites that you simply have to have. And there's a level of professionalism that I need. What I don't need are people who are going to, I don't know, oh, here's how not to apply for my program. And I have turned people away. Don't argue with me over email. That's kind of a check mark not to let you in. Don't clearly be, Chase Reiner has tried to get in. Other people from other science groups have tried to get in. Don't clearly be someone from another group who I know is just going to steal all of our knowledge and then just tell everybody about it. Don't be that, because I won't let you in. People do sign a non-disclosure agreement when they come in. That's very easy for me to enforce. So so there definitely is an admissions process, and with something so good, there has to be an admissions process. So this is like the highest level, top level mastermind SEO group you've ever heard of. So don't think that I'm just gonna be like, yeah, sure, and let anybody in. And sure, you can go to Secret SEO Guru and you can sign up. But if I've never heard from you before and I don't know who you are, I'm gonna start asking you some questions. And if you fail the admissions process, I'll refund your money and I'll kick you from the group. Okay, I hope I fixed the. Oh, good. Well, thank you, Chase. You asked the perfect question because I just answered it. I hope that that made sense. Yes, Chase, you're exactly right. Chase says, I tried to get in to see this secret knowledge, and Josh told me we'd be 10 times the price because it's me. Not because it's you, Chase, particularly, although you are rather argumentative, and so you do have that black check mark in the admissions process. But no, it's because I know you run your own group, and I know that if you joined, just like anybody who runs their own group, that you would immediately tell everybody. So I did create on the spot a licensing fee for you, and that was $3,000 to license my content, and then per month, and then you can, which is 10. You're right. Which you're exactly right. Is 10 times the student price of $300 a month, and I think that's a pretty fair licensing fee because, quite frankly, if people realize they can get from you for free what they could get from me for paying, then obviously I would lose students. They would leave. This is my livelihood. So I hope everyone out there thinks it's reasonable and sees it's reasonable. I probably wouldn't let you in, period, even if you were going to pay the $3,000 a month now, just because of kind of your quarrelsome nature. It wouldn't really help group dynamic. Ted says, Brian says JSON LD in the headers too. I don't know which one you're referring to there. Farad says, I am part of the mentorship group and I don't want you to join because I want all those tricks to be only mine. Yes, that's what students continuously tell me. So they don't want me to. Josh, shut up. Stop talking. You're giving away all the secrets. I give away a lot of the secrets if you understood what I was saying. But luckily, so I do try and give away as much as I can for free. I'm walking that knife's edge of giving you all maximal value possible, but while still having some left for me and the students. Yeah, I can pop the chat out. Yeah, I can pop that out and have it here. Yeah, sure, look at that. Anyway. Yeah, my shirt is on. He says, your shirt is on backwards again. Yes, Ted. That's because I'm now doing the screen share in OBS. And if I flip this... Now, Chase is going to critique my OBS knowledge. That is something that he can definitely critique because he knows more about OBS than I do. If I flip it, then will that be better? Well, this is Zoom again. Display capture, Zoom. I'm looking at Zoom here. There. Now you're looking at the screen capture. That's the only way to get the camera. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this Zoom thing with this thing. Anyway, that's what's going to happen there. Where did Zoom go? Did I close Zoom entirely? No. Here we go. So anyway, I apologize for all the rigmarole here. Jules asks, how long have I been doing SEO? A long time. I've been doing SEO since the late 90s, before it was even SEO. It was just kind of like proper way of setting your meta keywords and HTML and whatnot. I was teaching HTML and JavaScript in the late 90s for the University of Winnipeg in beautiful, cough, cough, not so beautiful Winnipeg. sorry, everyone in Winnipeg. I apologize. I know you all get pissed off when I say that Victoria's better, but it is. You see the amount. You see the amount of mosquitoes I'm not swatting right now. Yes, Chase. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Another screen will help your live editing. Yes, I could have another screen. There's not a lot of room on my desk for it. That's the only reason why I haven't done it. But thank you very much. Everyone give Chase kudos for a good suggestion for how I can improve on OBS now that Hangouts is gone. Okay, so let me talk about the main show topics I want to talk about right now. So here's some of our scientific finds. Here's some of our that we found. Here's our scientific kind of grand unified theories that come from our scientific paradigm of looking. It's called semantic content vectoring. And these are the big four that really are the huge difference that our scientific paradigm, our platform, our framework has been able to find that really nobody else has even come close to touching or even really barely understands. They think they do, but they really, really don't at the end of the day. It's semantic content vectoring plus. I should say it's semantic content vectoring plus. It's not just how I'm about to explain it. One guy turned away from the program because he is in tight with another science group that is already trying to steal my knowledge and has already listened to what I said about semantic content vectoring and then added something into their program that they thought approximated it, the Google natural language processing tool, which does not, by the way. And if you like, I can show you some experiments that show how you should not be using that at all for ranking. I just have stopped doing that because they get so butthurt when I talk about them that I feel bad for them. So I haven't talked about it, but if you put my boost to the fire, I can show it to you, or I can email it to you if you want to see it. That's an easier way than doing it publicly. But I could show you the tests. I've tested it, and the Google natural language processing tool does not help you rank in any way, shape, or form. There's no scientific reason to think that it will. You might as well roll dice, or consult your astrological sign, or as the ancient Chinese did in the I Ching, which is also called the Book of Changes. You can throw sticks on the ground and read sticks, or you can read tea leaves. That all would be just as equally good for ranking as using the Google natural language processing tool. So back to our scientific grand unified theories. The big four ones, as I said, is semantic content vectoring plus. I say plus because Google has modified this and changed it and refined it in such a way that it is text is upside down and reversed. Damn it! How do I do this properly? Oh, okay, because I did that. Here, let me do this. Fine. There, it should be better now. Yes. Let me know if that fixed it. Semantic content vector. Can't you guys all read backwards? that's how I'm trying to obscure the knowledge. No, it's just because I have to test this more and not just, oh yeah, Hangouts doesn't work anymore. I remember 5 minutes before the show, and then I come on to do this. I'm like, oh, how do I do this? I'm 44. I'm too old for this technology shit. Maybe I should hire Chase as my producer. So semantic content vectoring plus. Yeah. So it is semantic content vectoring. What is semantic content vectoring? Guys on the actual call, if you have a microphone, tell me if everything I'm doing here.
Yes, it fixed it.
That fixed it? Okay, great. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. So semantic content vectoring works on a very simple principle. If this is it's a simple line like this, where the weight of the keywords. So this is keyword weight or percentage, and these are the pages in the index from 1 to infinity. Regarding a particular keyword, it's the weight of them. Now, actually, that's not true. They do a very funny thing here that that when you join the group, I'll explain, but it's the way I'm going to explain it. And the traditional way of explaining it is that it's just the weight of the keywords. Now, how does that work? Well, it's kind of like latent semantic analysis, or it's kind of like TF-IDF, but it's not actually those things. Those theories are from like many, many decades ago anyway. Unsurprisingly, it's not the same. So let's say we're talking about foo. Let's say that's the query, and there's a whole bunch of words that connect up with foo. And so every word that shows up in every document that has the word foo in it is now going to have a certain percentage relation to foo. So for example, let's say the word bar is in a lot of documents that say foo, and it really would be. So bar is equal to exactly 89% foo, because it shows up in 89% of the documents that say foo. Now, actually, it's way more complicated than that, but that's the basic way that it works. Is the basic way that it works. So if that's the case, then if you searched bar, then foo would come up 89% of the time, because they know that it's 89% related to bar and vice versa, or something along those lines. So that means that they know this is them getting a certain percentage of synonym, when it's not really a synonym, just a percentage of replacement. Whenever we see the word foo show up, bar shows up 89% of the time. So if they talk about bar a lot and all the other words, but maybe they say foo only once, as opposed to a document that says foo twice, but then says all the other words hardly at all, just says foo twice in there, then this document here with the higher weight overall, the higher weight overall is going to outrank this document here. And if you want to get to spot number one for a particular keyword, that over at the end of the day, it all has to do about the weight, more or less. Again, it's actually a little bit more complicated than this. How they process this and where they get it is a little bit more complicated than this. But overall, that's content vectoring, and that is just it is just literally a smooth line that goes up like this. That's gut one. That's ground unified theory number one that we've discovered in our scientific framework is, semantic content vectoring plus. There's some extra stuff here in the plus. That if you don't understand that, you will never be able to take advantage of it. In fact, you'll probably be over-optimized and probably hurting yourself. All those tools out there that pretend to do something like this or something similar are actually probably half the time helping you, half the time hurting you. Which is sad, but true. The grand unified theory that we've discovered that is the most important number two that I'm going to mention here is QDD. QDD stands for Query Deserves Diversity. It's the amount that Google changes the search results based on a whole number of factors. You're familiar with QDD. It happens at a geographic level. It happens at a personalization level. It also happens on a freshness level. There's something they put out also called QDF, called Query Deserves Freshness. So that's the second important one, that if you don't understand how this works and you don't have a scientific framework to test it, and have gone to the depths of testing it that we have, then you are missing out on the second most important ranking factor, so to speak, that exists. Notice I haven't said links anywhere here, because they really don't matter, at least not at this perspective. Not at this level, in this perspective. So what is Query Deserves Diversity? Well, Query Deserves Diversity is where you get up to, it does some little stuff here, but when you get up to page 1 or 2, all of a sudden pages go up and down and up and down. And this page that would have been here gets pulled here, and this page that would have been here gets pulled up here. That is Query Deserves Diversity. That's Google deciding that they write algorithms to cherry pick. They write algos to cherry pick results based on what they think the user wants. Because remember, they are not there to make it nice and easy for us to figure out, and they're not there to make it streamlined. They're there to they as long as they're getting results for the end user, they don't care if they have to cherry pick them, and they don't care how much money that costs. Because at the end of the day, if they lose their search engine, Google loses everything. The vast majority of their wealth comes from the search engine, and so they are on a almost fanatical quest, if you will, to make sure the results are high enough. They will spend any amount of money to do this. So if you've ever heard anybody say, oh, Google can't do that, it would cost them too much money, or Google can't do that, that would be too hard, that is a very foolish thing to say, because they underestimate the links that Google will go to, and they underestimate the skill that Google has, and they presume they understand that they presume they already understand the grand unified theory of rankings, which I would suggest they don't. Our testing has shown otherwise. So the grand unified theory 1 and 2, semantic content vectoring ++, and query deserves diversity. There's a couple other really important ones here. Like, again, you've heard of the personalization, you've heard of the geolocation, but you've probably never heard, unless you follow the show, you've probably never heard of aspect. And this is the most important query deserves diversity algorithm. It has the greatest effect. It is the most important. And we know how to manipulate it to some degree. We know how to play with it. It's kind of like it's kind of like a Higgs boson particle. It's hard to do. It's like quantum weirdness. It's hard to manipulate. It's hard to understand. It's hard to kind of wrap your head around sometimes. But that's where our testing framework is going. That's where our scientific framework is going, and that's kind of how we understand it. So those are the two in conjunction. The other thing that's very interesting about it is in the indexing. Not in the indexing actually, but actually, quite frankly, in the sorting, in the retrieval. There are two modes of retrieval as well that these two particular grand unified theories of ranking adhere to. If I write down here where my mouse is now, will you guys be able to see it, or is it getting cut off by something? Can you guys see down in the bottom left here what I'm doing?
Give it a second.
Can you guys see the happy face in the bottom left? Or is it being cut off? George, can you see it?
Still lagging behind a little bit.
Oh, really? You can hit Control R maybe and refresh if you're watching on YouTube. Anyhow, I'm going to continue assuming you can see it, and if you can't, let me know. I'll move it up. But there's two modes of retrieval for the grand unified theory 1 and grand unified theory 2. For the sorry, it's good.
We can see it. Yes.
Okay, semantic content vectoring, that is done on first retrieval. That's the main retrieval. That when you get the 1,000 pages back, or whatever it is, it's not actually 1,000 pages. They can now tailor this. There's a lot of ranking factors that are getting retroactively put into indexing factors, and that tell them what they should be indexing and what they shouldn't be indexing. And then they're starting to tailor the 1,000 pages you get sent back, and they could limit that to 200. They can limit that to 300 pages back, or they can limit that to, they can keep it at 1,000 pages. But traditionally, it's been 1,000 pages you get back on search. So you do a search, and you get back 1,000 pages. The semantic content vectoring has already been done at that point. So if you just could test that stuff there without any of this QDD stuff, it would just be this simple line that we see here. It's the post-retrieval sort where a lot of this magic happens, including the QDD filters. And that includes personalization, geolocation. That includes aspect. And a number of other ones here. And I will color all that with the appropriate color to be color-coded. So the post-retrieval sort is when those algorithms are triggered and they run. There's ways to, now if you haven't accounted for them in your testing, then not only is your testing all wrong, but you're not going to be able to take advantage of them in ranking either. And your analysis of the SERP, your competitive analysis, is going to be all wrong. Everything is going to be wrong unless you're on the proper scientific framework. So I hope you're starting to appreciate how kind of how comprehensive the problem is, and how kind of a thorny issue it is not having the proper kind of scientific framework of what's going on there. And so those two are some of the most important ones. The third most important one to keep in mind, which is not a ranking factor at all by any stretch, it's the multivariable indexing and sorting. This is just a concept that you just need to understand that is starting to affect ranking. It doesn't start to affect ranking. It definitely greatly affects ranking. That's, I misspoke there. It definitely greatly affects ranking. There's not a lot you can do to manipulate it other than having the highest quality possible site. The stronger you are, here and here and a couple other things, the stronger you're going to be here, and the more you can manipulate this multivariable indexing and sorting. What is it? Well, it's like, consider it's like Schrodinger's cat, or it's like Schrodinger's rankings. Here's a page, here's a SERP page, number alpha, not number alpha, but letter alpha. It's not very good alpha. That's a better alpha. SERP alpha, and it has, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, and then there are n number, that's to say, infinite number of potential SERP pages with potential configurations of pages. It's not just some pages go up, some pages go down. That also happens as well in a different way in a different section. It's whole chunks of pages, like these two pages here will always appear together, and we'll move them up or we'll move them down. And this SERP they're up here, and this SERP in their middle, and this SERP they don't even show. These two SERPs they don't even show up. There's clusters of pages that move around, and that's because Google is doing a final kind of indexing, and I find it useful to think of it in a more of a quantum physics way, where you have a multivariate scheme. There's multivariates, there's multivariables. And it's not just a database that is an index. That's the old way of thinking about it. That's the wrong way of thinking about it. There's a database, there's an index. There is no supplemental index as far as I know. There is just many indices. And they have a multivariate scheme of indexing them, of crawling them, of sorting them and ranking them. And it's kind of in the indexing to the ranking component where this is kind of done. And so they have multiple schemes of thinking about this. So people think about it in terms of one single page dancing, but I'm going to suggest that might be the wrong way to think about it. This is more of a way of thinking about what are the ranking factors in this SERP. That's not the same ranking factors as in this SERP, and it's not the same ranking factors as in this SERP. Another way to say multivariable indexing sorting is to say the ranking factors fluctuate. You just have to know what SERP you're in. Oh, in SERP alpha, these are the ranking factors. But in SERP gamma, these are the ranking factors. And so if you haven't tested from a scientific perspective, you have no idea what these are, and you have no idea, even if you think you're doing science, how to remove them from your testing paradigm. If you can't extricate them from your testing paradigm, then your testing paradigm is flawed, and it's going to be broken and wrong. And statistical analysis of the search results, sadly, in that case, are not going to give you even as close to the variable you think you have. You think you saw it ranking at 7.3 out of 10 times, but you never triggered it into other multivariable indices. You don't know what multivariable index is going to be the one that triggers. You don't know how to switch between them. You don't know how to predict what's the most likely multivariable index that those particular users are going to encounter. So again, there's going to be, and it's not going to give you enough knowledge to peer into the search results to continue your scientific framework, to push your scientific framework forward. And so that means your discoveries are going to suffer. They're going to be off. Not only is each one going to be off, but the insightfulness and the atom bomb holy crapness of every experiment you make are going to be statistically worse every single time, because you're not tracking any of this in general, but this one here in particular. And last but not least here is the object potency. Ooh. So object potency is also very important. What are objects? Objects are part of the document object model. So for those of you who do web development, you should know what that is or what's going on with those. And this is kind of tying a little bit into the semantic content vectoring plus. This is, if you don't understand this, then really your SEO is not going to go anywhere. The object potency is, at the end of the day, the most important. It's not keyword density, it's object potency. And that's going to be the most important kind of thing that you really need to understand. You really need to understand, because in the object potency, there is something as too potent, depending on the object. And so you can sink yourself, you can give yourself such a terrible algorithmic demotion. There is no penguin, there are no linked demotions, none of that is real. Google has admitted that multiple times, and our tests have proven that multiple times. Anyone who says otherwise, just don't know what they're talking about. They're not very good. They don't know what they're talking about. But there are algorithmic demotions, not penguin, not links. There are bad links you can buy, don't get me wrong, but not links. There are algorithmic demotions that you can hit yourself with immediately on crawl if you've got the wrong stuff going on. So if you're not optimizing the document object model in the best way. So those are just some of the things that we see in our scientific, some of the grand unified theories of SEO, of ranking that we see in our scientific framework. So if you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask them in the chat. If you have any questions about that, please go ahead and email me. I'm going to see here if there's any other questions to answer. The text is reversed. Okay, now I hope that the text can be read. Okay, good. Yes, now it's fine. Perfect. Barat asks, Josh, what does Google use sentence vector embedding model or paragraph vector embedding model? Neither. It's neither of those. It's more on the document level. And there's another very important factor in there that I haven't mentioned. So it's on the document level. They read the entire document, and then they read the entire corpus, all documents. And they're doing huge processing on all of that. And so it ends up looking something like this. This is also my recommendation for EMQ aspect as well. But the vectoring looks like this, where you'd have one aspect, another aspect of the same exact match query. So there are very similar things here like this. And then there's a line where even if you have similar words, Google knows that this means like this is bass fishing and this is bass guitars. And Google, through the vectoring, can tell just through the words alone and the statistical analysis of those words and some other factors as well in the plus of that semantic content vectoring, whether or not this is about fishing or this is about guitars. And even though they share some words, in fact, they're going to share lots of words. They're going to share all the stop words. They're going to share a lot of English words, a lot of sales words. It's kind of a miracle that they're able to tell bass guitars apart from bass fishing at any given time. But it's that small cluster of words that push these things apart that have nothing to do with each other, and a little bit about some other factors about them that if you understand it, you'll know kind of, oh, that's how Google's doing it. Okay, and once you understand that principle, then, well, quite frankly, you dominate the SERPs. The world is, quite frankly, at that point, your oyster. Ted, like an example of object potency. I can't really give an example. It's as much as I can safely talk about it. so sorry, I can't really give an example. I can in the Discord chat for our group, so ask me there. But I can't really give an example of object potency. I've said enough already. People who really know what's going on can go, oh, okay. They just don't know what objects. So you still need to join the group to learn what objects. And we're testing all the objects, right? So as you can imagine, we're going on a merry hayride of testing objects, and people have been quite surprised for what we found. Just check the bit.ly/SEO proof, and you'll see a couple of ones recently of how surprised they've been. They'll be like, wow, page 6 to page 1, whoa. Or they've been like, wow, okay, I couldn't believe this, how long is this going to last for? As long as we can keep our mouth shut, that's how long it will last for. So everyone's Ted asks, should geolocation be added to every photo? Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Especially if you're local ranking. If you're local ranking, yes. Do I know if that really helps? No. We have not scientifically tested that. But given that it's a thing you can turn on, it should be very easy to do. I can't imagine that it would demote you. So if you're trying to rank locally, yeah. If you're ranking globally, I can't see how that would help. Some people say, so I see some people still using blog commenting for backlinks. Do you think there is any value in doing so? The only value in doing so is usually for negative SEO. Blog comment links are one of the specific links I'll warn you not to go get and not to have 301 to you. If Google can tell that they are blog comments, you definitely are in trouble. Those links in testing have demoted, so I wouldn't get comment links at all if Google can tell they're comment links. Sometimes Google can't tell they're comment links, right? Because the comments are not very well delineated from the main content, and they might think it's a main content link, in which case that would be fine. But comment links, you have to go delete those at the source. You should, you're going to be in big trouble. You better have other factors that are going to protect you. Join the group. I'll tell you what those are. But don't have any comment links. Don't have any forum profile links. Don't have any cloaked links either. Hidden in any way, including most especially what we've scientifically tested, is same font color as text color. That field test was conducted by an ex-member, and I think it's pretty academic that they proved what was going on there. Creel asks, is period between 1 retrieval and fast sort and 2 sort depends on topic niche? No. Nope. Need to wait different time to see real result on publishing changing content? Nope. On-page changes, if they work properly, will work within 24 to 48 hours max, usually within an hour to 12. So if you've made a change and if you've made an on-page change and there was no difference, then either the on-page change wasn't very powerful and you're competing against other powerful pages, in which case that small change, even though it should boost, didn't help you in your particular case, or it wasn't actually something that boosted you. So if you do not see a positive change in 24 hours, you're not doing proper on-page SEO. Or you're already fully on-page SEO, right? There's only so far you can go with on-page SEO. You can build up to have the greatest weight, period, and then you can't really get any better at that point. So Mike says, hey Josh, if I create an optimized HTML page on AWS for a tier 1 link, would I be able to power up the backlink by creating several other AWS pages and putting them at tier 1 AWS page? I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it works anymore. Ted's trying to get me in trouble. I don't know if that's the way it works anymore. I haven't tested it to that degree. We didn't need to. We tested tier 1 links in our group, and we found that links were ungodly powerful if you know how to do them properly, and so we haven't even bothered. Once you find the cure for cancer, you don't need to go find 5 other cures for cancer. If your cure for cancer works, great. So we found the link bomb, and we use it to make our links 3 to 5 times more powerful. As much as we give a crap about links anyway, because at the end of the day, links are worth like 5-10% of your rankings. So that's no, I would say that's a waste of time and money. You're wasting your time and money. That is something you should not be doing. That's me says, do you recommend any kind of backlinking strategy? Yes, I recommend the absolute best kind of backlinking strategy proven by science in the mentorship group. You're welcome to try to apply for admissions. Ted asks, I thought Ted K said keyword density is still a huge ranking factor. Nope. I mean, he might say that. I don't know. I haven't listened to anything he said for the last few months because there's no point in doing so. There's no use in doing so. He doesn't have a scientific framework. But no, keyword density is not a huge ranking factor. That's like saying eating organic material will nourish you. Saying keyword density is a ranking factor, a huge ranking factor, is like saying eating organic material will nourish the biological life form. Both statements are way, way, way too vague, and both statements are not based on a sufficient scientific framework to be useful or correct or accurate for that matter. So I hope that's the perfect metaphor, and I hope that makes sense. That's, again, why it's important to get with a group that has a successful scientific framework and is approaching it from a scientific framework perspective. You can we've all done little spot tests and field tests since SEO began. All of us have done little SEO tests and little spot tests, little gibberish page tests. We've all done them since SEO began, and field tests. If you do not have, what my group is doing now is a quantum shift. It's a complete paradigm change from what any other group out there is doing, and that's pursuing science in a truly scientific, philosophical, scientific framework perspective. For the reasons I already said, then I don't need to repeat. But if you don't have that, you don't have anything. So you really should get with the scientific framework before I close the doors. I still have the sale going on right now, but there is an admissions process. I do not accept every student. You really should get into this, into the framework, into the university, so to speak, before I close the doors and say, nope, that's it. Too many students, or, I'm too busy, that kind of a thing. So thanks very much. That has been the SEO Science Show. I would like to thank everyone who joined, who helped me. I would like to thank all of you for putting up with my crappy OBS skills. And tune in next week where I will talk truth to power a little bit more about our scientific stuff that we got going on. And as I always like to say, good luck in the SERPs, and we will see you next time.